Here on the Colour of Country Life at Flow FM, we're chatting with Biosecurity SA's Dave Hubbard. Dave, how are you going?
Good, thanks, Ricky.
We were planning to have this conversation with you for a few days, and just as it turns out, as I was driving away from the Roseworthy Broadcast Centre, which is surrounded by a patchwork of colour, including canola gold, looked like there was a tourist wanting to stop and take a photo amongst the canola crop. Sort of reinforces the point we wanted to discuss with you about just some of the challenges that presents.
Yeah, look, the canola is looking absolutely wonderful at the minute. Having driven across the Mallee over the weekend, it was just covered in yellow, so really, really attractive. And yes, I can see why people were wanting to stop and take photos.
Yeah, but I guess some of them I've noticed of wanting to actually get in amongst the crop and have a photograph. And this is where this hot topic of biosecurity, I know foot and mouth disease has been front of mind across the agricultural sector, but biosecurity matters for all of our cropping and livestock sectors.
Look, absolutely. And look, to start off with, I suppose, it is illegal to enter a private property without permission. So certainly in terms of people entering a property without the permission of the owner, it is illegal to do that. Beyond that, obviously, entering a property and then obviously entering into the crop itself does pose a whole range of biosecurity issues for the producer. So yes, there are a number of things. One of the things that you should consider, not only from a biosecurity perspective, but also in terms of what treatments the producer might have actually applied to the crop prior to you actually entering. And so going into the crop, he may have applied a fertiliser or potentially a fungicide, and that potentially might pose a risk to you because you're unaware that he's actually done that. So it does pose a risk from that perspective. And as you indicated, from a biosecurity issue, as I say, there are a number of issues with entering into the property. Inadvertently, you may have some sort of pest or disease or even weed seeds onto the bottom of your feet. And then when you enter into the property, you potentially could be spreading those. And certainly diseases like blackleg, stem rot, black spot and dark leaf spot are a number of diseases that potentially you could bring into the property inadvertently, along with potentially things like weed seeds. So weeds, if you think about the bottom of your footwell in your car, potentially there might be seeds in there that you've picked up along the way, and they're not currently on that property, and now you're inadvertently bringing those onto the property and spreading those weeds. So a real risk to the producer, and can cause some major issues going forward.
And I imagine it's not just that. If you decide you want to sort of drive in slightly to the property to get closer, you've also possibly in your tyres bringing that into, or on your mud flaps into the property as well.
Look, absolutely. I mean, one of the things we always say in relation to biosecurity, it's really critical that anybody entering a property should enter through the main entrance of the property, that they should park in a designated parking area and not venture beyond the actual parking area. Really important, and agronomists would know this, in ensuring that they use the farmers' vehicles whenever they're travelling through the property and not using their own, because they're potentially, as you say, could have weed seeds in the footwell, on the tyres. There could be mud that's caught up into the wheel arches, and so they all potentially are biosecurity risks where you're moving all those pest diseases and weed seeds from property to property, and creating real issues for the farmer.
I think if there's a bright side to the fact, and we have remained foot and mouth disease free here in Australia, the bright side of that concern that's developed in the livestock sector has been also then people have become more aware, even attending the Royal Adelaide show, they had to walk over foot mats, realising that just having visited a farm or even amongst animals in a place like Indonesia could have brought it back to Australian farms. Hopefully there's a heightened awareness in the community now.
Yeah, certainly. We've noticed that even the COVID has created a heightened awareness of things like biosecurity and things like vaccinations and making sure that you're not spreading particular diseases from one person to another, and you can apply that then to things like crops and also animals. So yes, it certainly created a heightened awareness, which is really good from a biosecurity perspective.
Now, I was at the Growing SA conference at the end of August in Harndorf, and there was some signage I think might have been linked to Biosecurity SA that farmers can put up at their properties that you might have been giving away. What's the idea of that initiative?
Yeah, look, these farm biosecurity signs have been available for quite some time, and farmers would be aware of seeing them as they drive around. They are available online, so you can go to the internet, and there are a number of different groups that are providing those, both in a core flute and also aluminium, and they can range from potentially $20 up to $30. The Plant Health Australia Grains Farm Biosecurity Program Officer in South Australia is Shafia Hussain. and she does provide them free to grain producers who attend major grain field days and conferences. So she's there to provide those free to grain growers and get them obviously involved and making them aware of the risks associated with people entering the property. And I'd encourage anyone who gets these signs to make sure you do put your phone number, a contact phone number on those signs. Really critical. It's important. If there's anything that happens on your property that you're not aware of, at least someone's got a contact number. They can contact you. Things like fire. If someone accidentally drives through a fence, they've got a contact number. So really important that you put that contact detail on there so people can actually contact you and make sure that they're not driving around the farm looking for you, which is the last thing you want them to do. So, yes, if you're looking for these signs, they are available online and or, as I say, if you attend one of the major field days, you can catch up with Shafia and she'll be happy to provide those signs to you free of charge.
Well, as if you needed another incentive to get to field days, there's a good one right there. Just before you go, Dave, is there anything else farmers can do? You mentioned coming in through the main entrance. Any other ways they can restrict or somehow control members of the public in their entrances onto farm?
Yeah, look, obviously always encourage farmers to make sure that they lock their gates or at least to keep them shut. Anything that's up against a major road to make sure that people just can't have an open gate to drive through. So make sure they're always shut and secure. And obviously the signs are the other critical one. Really other than that, just be alert of what's happening around your area. And obviously if you see people driving into your neighbour's property, stop and make them aware of the risks and inform them of the issues of that kind of practice.
Well, Dave Hubbard from Biosecurity SA, useful information for not only our farming community but the general public. Thanks for joining us today on Flow.
No problems.